Nope. What? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is yet again another mukbang. I accidentally made this Mexican themed. It wasn't on purpose, but I got a ton of requests to do nachos, so I made this big tray of loaded nachos, and I'm so excited. It smells so good. The recipe I followed will be linked down below. I followed a recipe by Amanda Dux. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but she's this amazing vegan YouTuber here on YouTube, so I would highly recommend checking her out. This isn't a collab or anything, I just love her so much. So the recipe I followed will be linked down below for the nachos. And then I wanted to try making a tres leches. I think that's how you say it. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm really sorry. But I wanted to try making a tres leches cake. Tres leches means 3 milks. So basically it's a cake soaked in 3 milks, and then I topped it with vegan Cool Whip and a little bit of cinnamon around the sides. I'm really excited. I was gonna make it yesterday, but I didn't want it to get soggy because I heard that if you leave it overnight it can get soggy. So I made it. I actually got up really early this morning to make this, so it better be good. And then also for today's video, I'm finally bringing you guys the highly requested true crime. So today I'm going to be talking about Lizzie Borden, and I'm going to try my best to leave out the really gruesome details just because I don't want to offend any of you guys. And trigger warning, I will be inserting 2 crime scene photos. They're really hard to see, but I'm just letting you know that that will be in this video. So if you don't like murder or true crime, then I would recommend clicking off this video because I want you to take care of yourself. So I really hope that I can get everything, and I really hope this video is not too long because there's just so much, and I'm not even going to touch everything. I'm pretty much just going to be giving you the story and if I think whether or not Lizzie Borden actually murdered her parents. So first I'm going to try the tres leches cake because I'm so excited to see how it turned out. So if this did turn out, then you can expect a recipe soon, hopefully. I'm afraid that if I show you it will spill, so yum. Oh my gosh. So I just made a yellow cake, and then I soaked it in vegan evaporated milk, coconut milk, vegan condensed milk, which is also coconut milk based, and then almond milk. And it is so good. Now obviously I can't tell you if this is really like real tres leches, but I can tell you that it's good, that's for sure. Ooh, that's a good one to show you. Also, I'd like to apologize. My neighbors just randomly decided to be loud, so if you hear pounding in the back, I apologize. The cinnamon around the edges is a really nice touch. Okay, so Lizzie Borden, or Elizabeth Andrew Borden, was born on July 19th of 1860. Due to some unforeseen turn of events, 32 years later, Lizzie would be tried for the murder of both her stepmom and her father. Now this came as a surprise because Lizzie was prevalently known in her area where she lived, and she was commonly known for noble acts. In fact, her and her sister were both raised to be relatively pious, and they both attended church activities pretty frequently, so they were raised relatively religious. This is so good. I actually was going to buy the vegan evaporated milk, but I couldn't find it, so I ended up making it at home, which I'm guessing it turned out okay, because this tastes really good. Now, unfortunately, Lizzie and Emma's life would take a very dark turn with the death of their mother, Sarah Anthony Borden. She died in 1863 of spinal disease and uterine congestion. At the time, Emma was 12 and Lizzie was only 6 years old, which is absolutely devastating. I can't even imagine. 2 years later, on June 6th of 1865, Andrew Borden, Lizzie and Emma's father, would remarry to a woman by the name of Abby Durfee, or Abby Durfee Borden. Now, before I continue, I'm going to try some of these nachos. I don't know, I'm going to go from down here. So there's so much on here. I put vegan cheese and vegan homemade nacho cheese, along with salsa, corn, beans, cilantro, and everything's just breaking. We got ourselves a soggy nacho. Wow. There's so much flavor. So Andrew, Lizzie's father, was a prosperous businessman. He was raised in a pretty adequate environment. However, as a young man, he did struggle money-wise. Eventually, though, his business did flourish, and he became quite opulent, yet he remained pretty parsimonious, meaning he was unwilling to spend a lot of money. For example, their house did not have indoor plumbing, which was a standard accommodation for prosperous people at the time. They even had enough money to live in a pretty affluent area. However, they did not, because Andrew was pretty obstinate in saving his money. He didn't want to spend it. Their house was really small as well. Like I mentioned earlier, no indoor plumbing, and it had a pretty unique setup. So in order to get to one room, you had to pass through another. So Emma and Lizzie, they ended up specifying at some point in their life that this house seemed more like a prison to them, which is really sad. Like, your own home is more like a prison. I feel like I'm eating these really weirdly. Another interesting thing to note is that the Borden family was a family that surrounding people in the town aspired to be. So the Borden family was what appeared to be a model home, a perfect family, and they just seemed to be perfect. And so many people aspired to be like the Borden family. However, this was truly not the case. Unfortunately, Andrew Borden was a very austere and close-fisted father. So this would cause Lizzie and Emma to constantly contend with him, and even their own stepmother, Abby. In fact, when Lizzie was only 6 years old, she began calling Abby, her stepmother, Mrs. Borden, potentially alluding to a contentious relationship between the two. And upon circumstance, Lizzie believed that Abby, her stepmother, only married Andrew for his wealth, especially because Andrew began gifting real estate to members of Abby's family. And their maid, Bridget Sullivan, or Maggie as they call her, she stated that Lizzie seldom ate meals with her parents. She would never join her parents for meals, which is really sad. There was just a lot of quarreling between her and her parents, and it caused a lot of tension in the Borden home. One more bite. I also have water to drink. Sorry, I'm just adjusting real quick because I feel like you guys can't see that well. I hope that's better. Okay. In 1892, Lizzie would construct a roost for some pigeons that found their way into the barn, which then Andrew, her father, then took the liberty of killing these pigeons with a hatchet. Now, pigeons are typically pests, and these pigeons were also drawing attention from kids. These kids were finding their way into the barn and probably messing around with things, so I understand why Andrew wouldn't want them there, but he really didn't need to go and kill them with a hatchet. So that made Lizzie really, really upset, and it caused even greater tension among the household. At least among Andrew and Lizzie. I don't even know if there are any more chips under here. That guac is fire. Wow. Now, the night prior to the murders, on August 3rd, John Morse would come to visit the Borden house. John Morse is the brother of Sarah Anthony Borden, Lizzie's biological mother. So John Morse is Lizzie's uncle by blood. So he came to visit, and he ended up staying in the second floor guest bedroom. Andrew then requested he stay to discuss business inquiries. Now, some speculate that this caused even greater tension, especially due to the fact that John is not very fond of Andrew. John believes that Emma and Lizzie should be married off already, living a more prosperous life. However, they're not, and so John doesn't like Andrew very much. Even so, he spends the night in the guest bedroom. So, days preceding the murders, the whole household actually ended up getting acutely ill, and a family friend actually wagered that this was due to some leftover mutton, or mutton that had been sitting on the stove for too long. So that's an important thing to note. I don't even think there's a chip there. Hello down there. So that brings us to Thursday morning, August 3rd of 1892. And this is the morning of the murders. So, breakfast was served, and in attendance was, well, Bridget was there because, or Maggie, the maid, because she had prepared the food. But Andrew was also there, and so was Abby and John Morse. So the dad, the stepmom, and the uncle. Now, after breakfast, John and Andrew would make their way into the living room, where they conversed for nearly an hour before John left at around 8:48 a.m. to go into town to buy some oxen, visit his niece, and then he would return home at around noon for lunch. And then Andrew Borden left at around 9 a.m. for business matters. So this left Lizzie home unaccompanied, except by Bridget, or Maggie the maid, and Abby the stepmom, because Emma was away at a dress fitting or something. Between 9:30 and 10 a.m., Abby went upstairs to the guest bedroom to clean and tidy the room, which was strange because that was one of Emma's and Lizzie's regular chores. So it didn't make sense why she was doing that, but okay. Upon returning home at around 10:30 a.m., Andrew attempted to unlock the door with his key, but could not open the door. So Bridget, or Maggie, the maid, she came to his aid and tried to unlock the door from the inside, however it would not budge. She discovered it was jammed, and she later attested that at this point in time she heard Lizzie laughing. She could not see Lizzie, but she heard the laughter coming from the second floor, which is an important factor, bearing in mind that Abby was already dead at this point in time. I'm the queen of making messes, I swear. Later, Lizzie ended up denying that she was on the second floor at that time and that she was downstairs helping her father take his boots off so he could put slippers on, and then helped him retire to the couch for a quick nap. Now, this is contradicted by the fact that crime scene photos depict Andrew wearing boots when he died. So, obviously, that wasn't true. I feel like I could eat this whole thing. Lizzie then, for some reason, tells Bridget that there is a department store sale and proceeds to tell her that she should go. However, Bridget says that she's not feeling well, so she goes to her third floor room to also take a nap. And then at 11:10 a.m., Bridget hears Lizzie call from downstairs, and she says, quote, I have notes over here, so quote, Maggie, come quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him. Now I'm going to put some pictures on the screen of the crime scene photos, so if you're squeamish, look away. I'm going to pop this up right now. There's Andrew and Abby. So that's what the crime scene looked like for both of the bodies. You can't really see, but it's just so sad. According to Lizzie Borden's testimony in court, she alleged that at 11:15 a.m. she found her father's body lifeless on the couch, and he had been repetitively hit with a hatchet, supposedly a hatchet, 10 times. Which this is also contradicting what I just said. Maggie heard Lizzie call her and saying her father was dead at 11:10. 5 minutes later, that's when Lizzie attested to seeing her father's lifeless body. 5 minutes later, after calling Maggie and telling Maggie that he was dead. I mean, it's a small time difference, but it's still pretty noteworthy in my opinion. The mess is inevitable at this point. So Lizzie's body was found upstairs, and she had been hit 18 to 20 times, which is very, very harsh. Forensic investigation further inferred that Abby was facing her killer at the time of the attack. She also didn't have any defensive wounds, which means that she most likely knew who her killer was. Another odd thing is that it took the police nearly 2 days to investigate the crime scene. They had already removed the bodies, but they didn't do a full investigation of the house until 2 days following the murders. I mean, I guess it makes sense because back then they weren't so keen when it came to investigations. But 2 days? I don't know. That just seems off to me, and they probably have missed a lot because of that. You guys know me. I have to try and get that in one bite. So, on August 3rd, the day preceding the murders, Lizzie was actually caught attempting to buy prussic acid, which is a poison, and some locals actually questioned that it may have been diluted hydrocyanic acid from their local drugstore, to which Lizzie then fortified that she was going to use it to clean furs. Their community medical examiner then revealed that that chemical does not have antiseptic properties, so that wouldn't have worked to clean her furs. And due to the illness in the house prior to the day of the murders, this led the police to further investigate the potential idea that the poison could have been the cause of death. So they tested the milk in the fridge, and they also tested Andrew and Abby's stomachs, and they found no poison. So obviously Lizzie attempted to purchase the poison, but she wasn't successful. So, Lizzie was eventually tried for the murder of her father and her stepmother for multiple reasons. The first reason being the most typical reason for a crime to occur in the first place, which is money. Lizzie was raised super modest. She never spent a lot of money. Her father didn't necessarily allow her to buy any materialistic things, so money could have been a strong drive for Lizzie. The second thing could be freedom. I mentioned earlier that the house felt like a prison. She was constantly quarreling with her parents. There was a lot of fighting. and she probably was not very happy. So her constant arguments with her parents could have given her more motive. She was on the premise at the time of the murders. The weapon is supposedly a hatchet, which is what her father used to kill the pigeons, which made her very upset. There's a connection there. She was also caught burning a dress at one point, and when questioned in court what she was doing, her sister Emma actually spoke in her behalf and said that it was Emma who told Lizzie to burn the dress, and that was a normal thing they did in their house. When their dresses got dirty, they would burn them. Oh, and I forgot to mention Lizzie's dress. She said she had paint on it, and that's why she was burning it. But she also tried to purchase poison. That's not suspicious at all. And her preliminary answers to the interrogations from the police were said to be odd and inconsistent, and most officers who interviewed Lizzie reported disapproving her attitude, and some even stated that she was too calm and too composed. However, she was eventually acquitted. Although she was acquitted, she still reigns primary suspect of the murders. I just realized I talked a bunch without even eating, so sorry. A lot of people also believe that Lizzie was a victim of sexual abuse from her father, which could also have given her more motive to murder her father. Now, this aspect was actually insinuated at the time of murders. However, there was not enough evidence to esteem this as factual. There wasn't enough evidence, so they didn't count that as one of her motives. It's almost like rice pudding, not as chewy, but like the sweetness. It's really good. So I'm going to post an image of a picture on the screen. Ed McBain wrote a novel in 1984 called Lizzie, and this suggests that Lizzie Borden committed the murders after being caught in a tryst with Sullivan. He elaborated this and said that Abby had caught Lizzie and Sullivan, the maid, together and had reacted with horror and disgust. And then he mentioned that Lizzie had killed Abby with a candlestick due to this mishap. And then when Andrew returned, she had confessed to him but killed him in rage with a hatchet when he reacted exactly as Abby did. McBain further speculates that Sullivan disposed of the hatchet somewhere afterwards, and in her later years, Borden was rumored to be gay, but there was no such speculation about Sullivan, who ended up getting married to a male in the future. Once again, there was not enough evidence for this to be conclusive. However, many people believe that Maggie attested in court on Lizzie's behalf. Some believe that Maggie was paid off to help Lizzie in her case, because later on, Bridget would move to Montana and purchase, I think it was a farm and some animals, which doesn't make sense because Maggie is an Irish immigrant and she did not have a lot of money. So many believe that she was paid off in court by none other than Lizzie Borden herself. Now, I just mentioned the hatchet. The police ended up finding a hatchet in the basement with no handle on it. Now, at this time, the thought that a woman would take a hatchet, even pick up a hatchet, was very highly dismissed. And so the thought that Lizzie committed this crime was very doubtful. However, recent investigation proves that a female of Lizzie's qualifications could indeed be capable of murdering her parents, especially if one is angry enough. Because of the hour difference between the two deaths, a lot of people have said that this could not be an outsider due to the fact that their house is super small there's not a lot of places to hide, and there's only an hour difference between the two deaths, so that wouldn't have given the murderer a lot of time to escape. They also would have had to know the layout of the house and the specific routines of the members of the family. So whoever murdered Andrew and Abby had to know the layout of the house and the routines of the family. Now, John Morse, the uncle, could perhaps be a noteworthy suspect. He hardly visited the Bordens after his sister's death, Lizzie's biological mother, but he unexpectedly visits them the night prior to the murders. And later on, according to law enforcement, John Morse rendered an absurdly perfect and over-detailed alibi for the death of Abby Borden. He also previously spoke with Andrew, and some believe that this conversation they had created a lot of tension, which gives John Morse more motive. And John Morse also was gone for 90 minutes of the day of the murders, and nobody can attest to where he was. So he is another suspect in this case. Some have speculated that Lizzie was taking morphine the days prior to her testimony in court, which back then morphine was taken for depression and anxiety and things like that, and many believe that the morphine was the cause of her confusion and her contradicting answers to questions and interrogations. However, I still believe she did it. There's just so much evidence pointing to the fact that it was her. All the evidence pretty much points to her. John Morse is pretty suspicious, but I don't know, like I said, he rarely ever visited the house, so I don't think he knew the routines of the family and the house well enough to be the suspect. So, let me know what you guys think. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope I got all my points across clearly enough. This was really fun for me. I love doing true crime and conspiracy theory videos. Yes, the research is difficult, but it's so worth it and so much fun. So, I really enjoyed it. This is going to be my last bite. Alright guys, that is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see more true crime videos in the future, and let me know what true crime you guys want to see, so that way I have an idea of what true crime to research. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!